I absolutely love making these sort of videos where it's quite opinionated, because that's what this is. There is no correct answer to this sort of question. The top 10 players of all time, the top 5 players of all time, where does this player rank, where does that player rank? It is something that is guided purely by how we feel about something, and also very generational. If you are of a certain generation, you will probably think that a certain player is better than another player, for example. We see it a lot at the moment where people are comparing Luke Littler to Phil Taylor. That's a big jump. What I'm going to do in this video is compare Luke Littler to the world's top 5 of all time, and maybe even the top 10 of all time, to see where Luke Littler is going to rank on this conversation. Now, for me, the top 5 has always been put in stone. And you can put this in whatever order you want, but the top 5 has always been nailed on. That is Phil Taylor, Michael Van Gerwen, Eric Bristow, 5-time world champion, Gary Anderson, back-to-back PDC world champion, Raymond van Barneveld, the 5-time champion of the world. Now, what's interesting for me here on this is a bit of an asterisk. And that asterisk hangs over the head of Raymond van Barneveld, because he's only won 1 world championship in the PDC, 4 in the BDO. Now, you could argue that and say, well, Eric Bristow won 5 in the BDO. How can you put him in that same conversation? And a lot of this comes down to the separation. Now, as we know, Phil Taylor was always in the PDC in regards to picking up those world championships, bar the couple he won on the BDO side. Phil Taylor and Raymond Barneveld were in different pools, which means Barneveld wasn't going up against the world's best. You know, the PDC didn't just have Phil Taylor, they had a lot of the world's best at the time. It was probably a 60-40 split, not like it is now. So those world championships could potentially be questioned. And the fact he won 1 when he came over to the PDC, did beat Phil Taylor in one of the most iconic finals. So you can see where we've got that little bit of sort of debate in that position, where we look at Luke Littler right now, and Luke Littler is without a doubt taking on the world's best players. There is not one player I can think of right now that I would think should be in that world championship that would make Luke Littler's journey harder as such. Now, obviously he's world #1, so it means he gets the seeding position, but that's a different conversation. Is there people in the world right now who can say they would make the world championship stronger? Probably, argument's sake, a couple of people at the bottom end, but certainly not towards the top end. No one in that top 32 is exempt or missing from the tournament. So for me, Luke Littler going back to back with world championships, being the world #1 and significantly being the world #1, having every major championship other than the European Championship and being over the last 2 years, I think now he's starting to get himself into this conversation. And I think maybe we need a revision and a revised in regards to when we look at the top 10 and maybe even the top 5. And I want your opinions and your vibe on this. So first of all, let's look at the short list of players that I think are on the list to be the top 10 of all time, because I don't think this is something that we've kind of nailed down yet. Now, undoubtedly probably missing people off this list, but I think people that certainly should be on here, back-to-back world champions, the likes of Adrian Lewis and Gary Anderson winning those on the PDC. John Part, who's won 3 world championships in 3 different venues. That in itself is an achievement. Dennis Priestley, 2-time world champion. John Lowe on the list. The likes of Martin Adams and Glenn Durrant, yes, we've got that separation, but the fact that they won them in consecutive years, I think need to be in the conversation here. James Wade, probably one of the only players who's not won a world championship, who probably deserves to be on this list. One of the most successful players in PDC history. And will he win a world championship? That is still possible. We can't say it's not going to happen. It's still possible, still open for interpretation and debate. And I've also put on 2 modern day players here in Luke Littler and Luke Humphries. Try picking a top 10 out of that and you'll see exactly what I mean about how this is a very, very tricky conversation. Because this is open to interpretation, we've got lots of different options and reasons as to why we would say someone is one of the top 10 players of all time. One of the reasons I've always included Barneveld isn't just the world championships. It's the impact he's had on the game, the impact he's had on getting darts into Holland, the amount of players that have come through and called Barneveld an inspiration, the likes of Michael van Gerwen, the impact he had on growing darts. Now, Barneveld played pay-per-view, don't forget. Pay-per-view game against Phil Taylor. When do we ever get pay-per-view darts or certainly back in the day, it was a rare thing to see. So impact of the game has come into play. Litler, which is sort of what we're having the conversation about here with where does he rank, has had a massive impact on the game. He has brought new eyes, a new demographic to the sport. I can't go anywhere without seeing Litler right now. I go into Smith's and he's there. There's Litler dartboards. I go into Curry's to get a TV. There's Litler's face. I go into get Pokemon cards. There's Litler's face on books, on dartboards, from children's sticky dartboards right the way through to a proper collector's dartboard. He's had a massive impact on the game. £20 million contract signed with his manufacturer tells you just how much of an impact he's had on the brands. So absolutely, he's had a big impact on the game. So we can give a big tick there. What is his ability like? I think he's still improving. I think it's still untapped. He's won pretty much every title he holds as the time of making this, everything but the European Championship and the World Cup, which is a pairs competition, played alongside Luke Humphries. I'm sure they'll get that this year. So back-to-back world champion, massively clear on the rankings, will be world number one for years to come. So we've got longevity guaranteed there in that world number one position due to how good he has been. Longevity is another big important factor here. And we don't know what the longevity is going to be for Luke Littler, but we know he's going to sit in that world number one position for a while because he can't really be caught for a couple of years. So we know he's going to have longevity in a lot of dates as that world number one, which again is a big tick. He's going to keep winning titles, isn't he? Big tick. So do we put him now in the world's top 5 of all time at the expense of Barneveld? That, I think, is open to interpretation right now, where we sort of put him 50-50. Is he one of the greats? And the comparison here, like I've said before, is not Luke Littler to Phil Taylor. That is too much. But is he a top 5 of all time? I would say right now, and I'm probably getting carried away with recency bias, I'd probably say Luke Littler is now in the top 5 players of all time. If not, certainly in the top 10. Certainly in the top 10. But even now, that top 10, I can't quite figure out where it is. Let me give you the shortlist again. Pick 10 from there. That's what I want you to do, guys. I want you to go down to the comment section, give me the top 10 of all time in the correct order. Be interesting to know if you think I've missed someone off this list. Let me know that down in the comment section as well. But this is going to be a nice little debate, I think. One thing I will ask from you guys, don't try strong-arming this and being ridiculous like some of you are, where you go, that's wrong, it can't be wrong, it's opinions, you can't be wrong on this. This is purely an opinion-based topic. There's no way of having a definitive answer of who the top players of all time, because we've got to compare a lot of different things. Phil Taylor was doing this on round wire boards with staples. Bounce-outs was more prominent. The equipment wasn't as good as what we've got now, but yet we're still averaging over 100. So there's a lot of things that we've got to take into account here. The amount of times that you could play on stage wasn't as good as it is now. You know, the facilities, everything wasn't as good as it is now. So we can't really compare eras definitively. So it is purely opinion. So be respectful to each other down there, guys, and let's see where the vibe is. I would say if Luke Littler's not in the top 5, I'm going to put him at number 6.